This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, welcome to Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, and this was one of those episodes where I just had a blast. Like, we looked up and 90 minutes had passed, and I had somewhere else to be in like 4 minutes, and luckily, everything's online now, so it doesn't really matter. But this is a conversation with my buddy, Shannon Reed from West Hall High School, another Gainesville guy. I picked with Shannon, A, because he and I, we just are good friends, and B, he is one of those teachers who made the conversion from an academic into a video production classroom. And as you'll see, or as you'll hear in just a moment, literally as soon as we connected, we just started chatting, and like a good podcaster, I guess, I hit record as soon as we connected, and the first 7 or 8 minutes of this podcast are just Shannon and I shooting the breeze, and you'll see that, and you'll understand what I mean by that. We had, it was one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, we've been doing this for about 15 minutes. I should probably tell people who I'm talking to, because I'm going to use most of this stuff. And that's what I did in this episode. Speaking of using stuff, perfect segue into Amatrace. I talked to Faraz today, and everyone there is happy and healthy, which is a great thing. And one of the things that he and I were talking about were, if your school is beginning to really to plan for a new build, for a construction, for a remodel, for a new building completely, your school more than likely has applied for what are called CRE, which are construction-related equipment grants. I don't know your situation with your CTAE or CTE director, but you definitely need to be in the conversation about how that money is spent. While I love all the CTAE directors, most of them, I should say, they don't know everything about every program, and they may get sold a bill of goods that they don't know about. For example, luckily my CTAE director trusted me enough to make the call, but prior to the new building we were in, she had somebody offer to it was a ridiculous package. It was like 3 cameras, a TriCaster, and a news desk for a stupid amount of money. Stupid, like ridiculous amount of money. So ridiculous to the point that I was like, I don't know what they're charging you for, but they shouldn't. Amatrace, not going to do that to you. They're going to come in, they're going to look at your situation, they're going to look at your space, and they're going to help you figure out if you can make your dreams, your vision, whatever you want to call it for your program in your new facility happen. And they know the paperwork. For example, in our new build, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, but SDI cables that are 3 feet long aren't covered under CRE individually. So we had to go into some local funds. Luckily, my system was okay with that. Your system may not be. If I'd used Amatrace, it wouldn't have been an issue. They plan those things and they make those things happen. So definitely go check them out, AMITRACE.com. Huge supporters of this podcast, huge supporters of educators, especially video educators. Just huge. They're awesome. They're rock stars. I can't say enough about them. You should definitely go check them out, AMITRACE.com. Now get ready for part 1 of my conversation with Shannon Reed from West Hall High School in Gainesville, Georgia.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.
He's up at 4:30 in the morning, or he's up at 4:30 in the morning feeding the chickens and the goats and all that, and it's just
the backyard birds thing has become a big deal. And goats too for some. My family, I'm a third or fourth generation farmer. We've got about 110 acres now. 50 of it's mine, 60 of it's my uncle's, but they're back-to-back farms, so it makes it that one big thing, that big family unit. So my entire dad's side of the family lives on this farm, and over the years we've changed the things that we've raised and stuff like that. But my granddad was huge into goats and sheep and selling those, and then we sold chickens for a while, and then we had to stop doing that because one of my cousins started working for like the poultry lab network that works for commercial and stuff like that, so we can have those. Well, in the late 90s, we aren't anymore, but we were the largest bison herd in Georgia.
Wow.
We had like 50 head of bison, and we still have about, between 7 and 10 at any time, but we're mainly like larger livestock now. Like we've got the bison, we've got a couple water buffalo, and we've got some longhorns and just things like that. It's a menagerie.
Nothing wrong with that. So what do you do? What do you do with the animals long term?
We sell privately to people, and for multiple different reasons. The main one being, people want meat, so they want to have a little bit more of a hand in the food that goes onto their table, so they come and they buy a cow or something like that to slaughter. Then on the bison side, one of the big things that we would sell to was so in the rodeo industry, I'm getting really, really hillbilly-ish right now.
Totally fine.
In the rodeo industry, these calf ropers would need training calves, right? So they would train with the beef calves, but the beef calves were, I guess, so far down the line domesticated that they would train. So you would ride up to the herd with the horse, and instead of having to cut them out, like the cutting horses and the ropers and stuff, instead of having to physically train the horse to cut the calves out, the calves would just see the horse and walk to where you wanted them to go because they knew that's what it was for. Well, bison calf was wild enough to not do that. So you got longer time out of it. So that was one of the other things that, we got into selling those for. But obviously the main thing was beef. Everybody was wanting the meat. But yeah, and it was just a little hobby farm. It was just us doing our thing.
Huh. That's it's so funny because that's one of those things that you never think about. Like when I think of bison, I don't think Gainesville, Georgia. I think,
No, you don't. Like when the 96 Olympics came through, an Olympic bus full of Olympians stopped in front of my mom and dad's house. And I was like, what's this? It was a police escort, and they were looking at the buffalo.
Wow.
I was like, what is this? And it's one of those things that it's been my entire life. So it's never been a weird thing to me. So whenever anybody's just like, people stop daily and and we don't care if they take pictures as long as they don't get in there with them and stuff, but they stop daily and they think it's a cool thing. And my kids and my wife like it now because we've become like a landmark in town. It's like, well, where the buffalo are. Okay, go down there and, turn left.
So you're the Gainesville version of where the old oak tree used to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And we, on the other side of our town, it's like, well, you know where that old white barn is? That looks like it's about to fall in. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. Where I grew up and I live, in Newton County, and that's where I grew up. There were directions that were like, hey, you remember where the old oak tree was? Yeah. That's where you turn. And it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly where.
I don't know. I'm not from here.
Yeah. And we'd give it like, when Kelly and I first started dating, she came to my house. I don't remember, because I'm an idiot, I guess, and didn't do what was right.
Isn't it? No, I have the same story,
dude. So. It's amazing that we've lasted.
We're definitely outpunted our coverage.
Oh, who are you telling? But I told her, I said, so I live in Alman. Don't pass the church. Turn left and cross the railroad tracks. Well, I didn't realize. Like we lived 8 miles from each other. She had never gone that 8 miles. Like in that direction.
Really?
So she got lost because outside of Alman, which Alman is probably smaller than most high schools, like the entire community is smaller than a high school building. She'd never been. So she didn't pass the church. She turned left about 2 miles early. So she's like, and this was pre cell phone. This was this was, so she's like, she had to go back and I didn't live in a very populated area. And she had to go back and find a payphone and call me. And then I had to, make fun of her. And our first date was awful. The fact that we had a second date still amazes me. Dude, I wrecked in my garage pulling out for our first date.
What?
Yeah. I put the car in drive instead of in reverse. Just talking nervous, and so, I was like, hey, what kind of music do you want to listen to? She goes, oh, anything but rap. Of course, that's all I listen to.
Your 90s hip hop all day.
Oh, yeah. So I was like, well, reach under the seat. There's some CDs under there. and that was how our relationship started.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave most of this in there in the podcast. I think it's good stuff. I'm talking with Shannon Reed. I guess I should introduce you. We're 20 minutes in. I'm talking to Shannon Reed, and Shannon, go ahead and, other than your bison farming and all of that, there's a reason for you to be on your podcast. Kind of tell us who you are and what you do.
Thanks for having me on, Tom. It's this podcast has been so beneficial to me as a teacher, and I'm sure I speak for many others. But my name's Shannon Reed. I'm audio video tech teacher over here at West Hall High School in Oakwood, Georgia. And I'm a graduate of the same high school, which is, I'm pretty passionate about this place. I come from, having played live music and things like that, and have a passion for gadgets and finding solutions to things. So that's kind of how I got into this.
Excellent. And you didn't start as a video production there. Where'd you get your start?
No, I came in as a math and science teacher at the high school level. And then within the first couple of years, I was solely math. If you don't know, math is kind of tumultuous right now because the standards are always changing, and it's just one thing after another. Do we do this benchmark? Do we do that? And they gave me this opportunity to start this program because we had been experimenting with a school news show, and I inherited that from a guy that had started it. And that became really, really popular. We were putting out a daily YouTube recorded news show. That became really popular. The kids really saw value in it. And they came and approached me and said, would you like to start a program based around this? And I said, absolutely. This sounds like a dream. I'm like, yeah, we'll buy you some equipment. There's some more funding and things like that kind of go along with it. And I was like, this all sounds like a win. And I said, what about math? Do I keep doing that? And they said, we'll slow roll you into it. Obviously, once you've got enough kids to make a program out of it, that'll just be what you do. And it was, 3 years, and now I'm fully audio video tech, and we're bursting at the seams. I'm extended today now. It's great. So
when you got full AVTF, which in Georgia is audio video technology and film, it's what we call video production.
Yeah.
Did you go skipping down the hall? Were you clicking your heels? Excited?
It was more, this has all been one of those situations of, when are they going to figure out I don't know how to do this? Not really. We've had a lot of success with our program and things like that, but it's one of those situations. It's like, I'm going to wake up at some point and I'm still going to be a math teacher or something like that, and all this fun is going to go away. But no, I get to go to work every single day and help high school kids who, first of all, want to be in my class, as opposed to, some of the kids wanted to be in math class. We try to make it as fun as possible, but these kids chose to be in this class. And one of our main goals is to shine a light on West Hall High School and the culture of it.
Teaching to the test pattern.
There you have it, part one of my conversation with Shannon Reed from West Hall High School. And as you hear there, Shannon started as a math teacher. And, we as CTE or CTAE, depending on where you live, teachers sometimes get a bad rap as people who are just, we're playing with toys, and people don't, other teachers and other administrators sometimes don't see the true value of what we do until they need, a video produced or something like that, or they see somebody else has produced one, and you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. We could have done that a long time ago. Very important message there about those converting from the math classroom into, or any academic or any non-media classroom into video production there, about building the brand and the overall story of the high school, West Hall High School, where Shannon works. Thank you for downloading this podcast. Make sure you look for the upcoming episodes with Shannon. They'll be out any day, any hour, depends on when you're listening, or they may already be out depending on when you're listening. Thank you to Amatrace for their continued support of Teaching to the Test Pattern. Have a great day, and as always, go make some awesome.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.